Hello, welcome back to the next part of the restoration of this lovely Pancotti vintage accordion. So I've got to the point now where I've prepared the reeds and I've prepared the reed block. So the next step is to get the valves ready for sticking on the valves. So I'm going to choose the correct size of valve for each reed, so just the right width, and try to get the right length. So I'll just show you my little setup. I'll just stop the video and show my setup of my valve. Okay, so this is my, well, these are all my reeds from A to D sharp. So in each of these boxes I've just got my collection of spare reeds for all the different pitches, but I've got from 1 to 8, and these are my kind of vinyl multi-layer valves, and I've got some thicker valves as well for the bass side. So these go from smallest to biggest. So I'll just show you this one. These are my teeny tiny ones. Number 8 are my biggest ones. So what I'm going to do is just choose the correct valves for the reeds and lay them out in pairs, because obviously you've got the reed on the top and the reed on the bottom of the reed plate. So I'm just going to choose my valves for each of these reeds and I'll show you. Okay, so now I've got all of the valves sorted out. The 4 smallest reeds on the higher set of reeds don't need any valves. They're so small they don't actually need a valve to block the air on one side. It doesn't make any difference, so they don't have any valves on. So now what I'm going to do is get my favourite glue, which is this, which is Boterm GTA, and it's shoe glue, but it works really well for valves. And what I'm going to do now is glue the valves on, and as I've mentioned before, the trick is to try to make a little square of glue on the valve. So you're kind of doing it, the length of glue you put down from the top of the valve is the same as the width. So you've got like kind of a square of glue, and try and be as consistent as possible with that, so that each valve, particularly each valve on each side of a reed plate, is the same, so that you're not going to get some valves glued with masses of glue and some with hardly any. You want to try and keep a nice consistent finish so that the accordion will play as consistently as you can. So I'm just going to go along and glue all these on. So I'm just going to add a bit of glue at a time to my little pot, and just get a little tiny brush, and then this is just have to be careful, make a little square with your thumbnail. And just attach the valve right up to the rivet, and then just leave that to dry for a few minutes before doing the other side. So I'm going to go along and do all my valves, and I'll show you when they're done. And there we go. So I've got all of the valves on both sides, and they look like this. There's about, I've only got 1, 2, 3. There's 4 sizes on these ones, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 sizes of valve on that row. So I have to have quite a selection of valves to choose from. And what I get my valves on line from Havent, Havent, and it's a Julius. He's from Germany, and he does a wonderful selection of these valves, and he's just really great. So if you look up Vent, and he's on eBay, he does a wonderful job of sending out the valves. Right, now the next thing, first thing, I'm going to be starting waxing in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the heater on for the wax. So I'm just going to get that started, because that takes quite a few minutes just to get up to full temperature. So whilst that's up, getting up to temperature, what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim the valve. So I've got my Swiss Army knife, And these little scissors you get on this army knives are remarkably effective and good quality, and I find these are really good for trimming the valves. Now what I'm going to do with the valves is I'm going to trim, so if I just take this one as an example, the valve needs to be trimmed just level with the little slot, or just maybe a fraction longer than it. And so what I'm going to do, just get my scissors here and trim it carefully straight across, and then however much I've trimmed off the length, I'm just going to trim off the second layer there, so it's a bit less of a layer on top as well. So what I'm going to do is I'll just show you on this one. Get my scissors. Hello, come here. Trim that flush, and then trim the same amount as best you can judge. There we go. And then that's trimmed. So I'm going to go around all of my valves and just trim them up. So I'll show you that in just a tick. And there we go. So that's all nicely done. So I've got the reed block ready. I've got all of the reeds valved and trimmed, which is good. Now the funny thing about doing this job is you have to put a lot of work in without seeing the result until right at the end. So you have to put a lot of work into doing the reeds, because there's lots of cleaning and then checking, valving, waxing, and it's only when you get the reeds back into the accordion that you can actually hear how well you've done. So you're kind of just doing it on trust. You're just trusting your judgment and your instincts and your skill, I suppose, in getting it as good as you can. And it's only when you put them back in, which is kind of towards the end, that you'll realise how well you've done. So it's quite funny in some ways. It's a bit like taking film in a film camera. You don't really know how well you've done until you've got the film processed. So, but in some ways it's quite good, because it's kind of the unexpected. So I'm hoping that these reeds, having been worked on and sorted, are going to sound nice, but I've no idea. But I'm hopeful. So there we are, that's all ready. So the next thing, I'm just going to wait till the wax is fully heated up, and then I'll show you a couple of reeds that I'm going to wax in, and I'll read all that, and then I'll wax all the rest in. So I'll be back in it. Okay, I'm now ready to start waxing them in, so I'll just do a few and show you how I do it, and then I'll do them all. I've just covered up the one set of reeds that I'm not waxing at the moment, so just don't any drips of wax onto those, so they're just all kept very clean. So I've got a couple of nice brushes in my heater, and I'm just going to shape them a bit. So just going to run them through an old t-shirt just to get a nice point on them. Make sure that they're ready to go. And it's worth getting decent brushes, like I've said before, because they actually do the job a lot better. So I've got all my reeds arranged, and now it's all a question of getting them waxed in. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start from this end here. So actually I'm going to go backwards along these reeds. I'm going to start from there, that's going to go there, end up with that one over here. So I'm going to get a nice bit of wax on the brush, and I'm just going to give a little coating, a light coating of wax just around the first reed chamber. There we go. Like so. Get the first reed, make sure it's the right way up, and then centrally place it, push it down, and then what I'm going to do now is get the brush, just carefully run round all the sides of that reed. And the reed wax has got to be fairly liquid so it will run, but you don't want to get it so hot that it starts to smoke. So if your reed wax is smoking, that's not a good thing, and you might have ruined the wax. So, and then that's in. So if I just, we are. Now what I'm going to do next is, where the next reed is going to go, I'm just going to put a little, build up some wax just down here, so that I can just push that into that wax, because I'm not going to get my brush into that tiny little gap. So I'm going to add an extra little layer there, so I can push it down into that wax and get a nice seal, and then I'm going to go around the other edges. So let's just do that, and I'll show you what that looks like. Take the next reed, push it down into that wax, like so, keep nice and centralised, and then just going to go around the other edges of that reed. Now you will notice I've put some tape on the end of the reed block, just to protect that from drips of wax, so that when you finish you've just got a nice clean finish. So I'll just do this one. There we are. I'll just show you. There we go. So that's two done. I have put a cross on this one because the reeds weren't in every position, so I put a cross where the reeds haven't got to be. So my next reed is going to go here. So I'm just going to follow that little process all the way to the end of the reed block. So I'll show you that when I've got to the end. Okay, here we are. So that's the first set all nicely waxed in. So all I'm going to do now is flip over the reed block and do the second set. Once I've done all that, I'll take the green tape off and I'll just show you the completed reed block. Okay, so give me a second, I'll get cracking on the second. Okay, here we are. So that's the both sides of the reed block. I've got the reeds now waxed in, so I'm quite happy with that. It looks quite tidy. So I'm going to leave those just to harden. Have the wax. I'll just turn the camera up. There we go. So I'll leave that to harden, and before even try playing anything. But anyway, I've got 3 more to do. And just down here. 1, 2, 3. So I've got 3 more treble side reed blocks to go, and just quite a lot. So I'm going to crack on with these. I won't film these because it's be exactly the same as doing the ones I've just finished. So the next video, at the beginning of the video, I'll show all of the reed blocks done before I then go on to that video's content. So thanks for watching, hope it's interesting, and yeah, going to keep plugging away, get cracking on all these and see how quickly I can get these done. Okay, see you next video.